Welcome back to GEMs Uncut. I'm Heather.
And I'm Molly. Let's cut it up.
Let's cut it up. Today, talking about financial independence, aka retirement planning, but not everybody retires technically at this time. So it's like new journey in life. What does it look like for you?
Yeah, you're right. Everyone's journey looks so different. And like everyone we talk to has a different answer on what, financial independence and retirement look like. Well, let's start. Like, what is financial independence?
It's the ability to have options at a certain time in life, whatever that looks like for you. And I would say it's super important, especially with getting our podcast out there, to hit it early because arguably, once you get into the workforce right out of college or whatever your journey is, starting immediately is crucial to the success of you being able to reach financial independence at whatever age your goal desires.
Right. I always describe financial independence as working because you want to, not because you have to, especially for those that maybe come in with a mindset of like, I guess retirement is just when I'm eligible for Social Security or my pension. And that's when the government is telling me when it is versus no, this financial independence, retirement, whatever you want to call it, can be when you want it to be.
Mhm.
It's just knowing that you are not stuck somewhere. I have the power to walk away. I have the power to go do what I want to do. So if that is, you know what, I want to sit there and travel the world.
Right.
Maybe it's, not 100 or 365 days a year. Maybe it is like, okay, I'm going to take a sabbatical of 6 months to go travel and do what I want to do for that time frame. It doesn't matter. You still have bills you got to pay. So if we don't think about that, like, you just can't do that. It takes purposeful planning. And so financial independence can mean so many different things.
Right. I think a big myth of the world that we live in, and it's obviously ever changing, but it's that a pension or Social Security is going to be enough in retirement. And if you believe that, um, you might live in Pinckneyville, Illinois. For some, cost of living in certain places is much lower than it is in other places. So there's that. And if you have a very, very simple, small standard of living, you may be able to get by. But I have actually never myself seen it done. So having that supplement of a retirement plan and making sure that you're investing in the proper tax advantage plan to your goal, that kind of brings in a Roth versus a traditional type of tax advantage retirement plan. That matters too, because what do you want your retirement to look like? Is it going to be less income than it is today, than you're making today? Or is it going to be more income that you're making today, putting you in a different tax bracket?
I actually want to go back to the pension stuff that you talked about. I think that is such a big topic of what people know retirement is, that it's like we might have heard the Roth and stuff from social media, but the pension piece I think is huge. And it's like we don't really know. And when we start digging into the facts, then we kind of get upset. And I have a lot of experience helping with government pensions. My mom was a teacher, so that's a prime example. But I remember early on in my career, I sat in on like a seminar or informational session, and it was about pensions. And I learned in that seminar, and I'm probably going to not quote it correctly, but pensions, like Social Security, pensions started like with railroad workers, I think is what it was, that they were designed like, I think the 1800s, late 1800s, but they were designed as like an insurance plan, as if you lived too long, then you might have injured yourself, kind of almost like a disability insurance. Like, oh, you injured yourself working on the railroads, but you're like 50. Here's this insurance that, okay, but we know once you get injured on the job, like, and you can't work on the railroad anymore, like, you're probably not going to live much longer. So that's where pensions really originated. And it's like, well, it kind of makes sense when you think about it, especially so long ago, where it's like the average mortality rates were much lower than they are now, why these were created. And then fast forward to Social Security, which was, I think it was founded in the 1930s. And the average or the full retirement age in the 30s when Social Security was started was 65. What is the full retirement age right now for you and I?
67.
Think about it. That was started in the 1930s, and that was almost 100 years ago,
Right.
and we've moved 2 years what full retirement is through the eyes of Social Security, of course. I think about my grandmother who was born in 1931, and she had a dad who passed away when she was 20. And her mom, I think, did live to like maybe late 60s, maybe 70. And I think she was like, wow, I can't believe my mom lived to 70.
Mhm.
That was a long time because my dad died when I was 20. So maybe he was 40 in his
Right.
40s. It's like, oh, those people that created those laws of the ages didn't think they were even going to make it 65. So that's why they put that, but then we haven't even pushed it. So then when we grow up hearing we know we have Social Security or this pension from the government, like we then go, oh, that's 67, but then reality sets in that like the mortality timeframes have pushed back like 20 plus years, and they're probably going to go even further because
Mhm.
more people are living into their hundreds. So
Right.
that, of course, really emphasizes the importance of, like you mentioned, the retirement planning with the Ks, IRAs, pre-tax Roth accounts, etc. But it really, I mean, starts at least with our mindset on retirement there, and that's why it's there. But of course, so important to look at all the
Yeah.
other different aspects. So sorry to go off on a tangent, but I think that was really important that we needed to make sure to hit on.
Yeah, no, and that's a very common conversation, especially with retirement planning, usually being a top goal for many people, is what is your belief on Social Security? And more people are starting to say, I don't think it's going to be there. Now, you're paying into it, so something will be there, but what that looks like is very much concerning. And that mortality table just keeps creeping in. So, statistically, the numbers aren't numbering, so changes will have to be made. But having to rely on Social Security, on your pension to reach financial independence is not going to happen.
Yes, and you know what? I will say this is I don't take well for people telling me what I have to do when I have to do it. So I don't like the idea of the government saying your full retirement age for Social Security is 67. I don't want that to be my retirement age unless I just love what I'm doing, which of course I do love what I'm doing, but I want to have the power to walk away
Right.
at a certain point. And who knows when that'll happen? It might not ever happen. I might just continue to love what I'm doing. But financial independence to me is I know I'm 60. I've got so much money saved up in my retirement account, in my investment accounts that I know I could walk away and still live this lifestyle that I want and do the things that I want without me having to make this income or Social Security or whatever that may be.
Financial independence is having options. So,
Absolutely.
women, whenever it comes to planning for retirement, they live longer.
Mhm.
And statistically, they save less and they take less risk. So that is alarming. And that's something, everybody has an emotional tie in a way with money. And taking risk can be scary, but working with a CFP or a financial advisor, they should be helping you through those emotional conversations of what it means and the history of the market and helping you understand that volatility should be putting you on the right track for whatever your time horizon is to that financial independence.
Absolutely. And I think whatever the course is, a journey for a woman, whether it's a career gap for taking care of a loved one, a child, or it's important to have the numbers that back it up. And I think the moral of the story, and you and I both know, but we got to make sure our listeners know, is the sooner you start, the better off you're going to be, which is really like, I think one of our biggest like strategies on how do we get to financial independence or retirement, however you want to look at it, is like you've got to start as soon as you can and save as much as you can. And I know we did some numbers. So should
Yeah.
we be calculating some numbers?
Yeah. Let's
Yeah.
do it.
Well, let's calculate some numbers. So, what do we say that, let's say 40 years of like, hey, I just graduated or maybe just freshly graduated in the last couple years, and maybe
Yeah.
I'm in my early 20s. Like,
Right.
I want to start saving for retirement. So maybe have a 40-year career. And we're just going to talk about normal retirement. Of course, we can um, talk about other numbers, but I think that's a big one. Like, I would want to know.
Right.
So 40 years, earning a 10% rate of return. So let's do that. And then saving 2000 a year.
Yeah.
What that gets you at the end of that 40-year period is approximately over $800,000.
Mhm.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah,
And it's just 2000 a year?
sure. Yeah. I mean, in today's world, it's becoming, less money just 'cause of inflation. So when you think about it, a 10% rate of return, uh, does that sound high? Is that reasonable? It depends on where your risk is and where that falls. But when you have 40 years to invest, you want to be as aggressive as possible. You want to take on that volatility. And if we look at the flip side, if you don't start in your early 20s, and let's say we wait another 10 years to start, so we're in our
30s
early
somewhere?
30s, mid 30s,
Okay.
and we're trying to play catch up. So let's not even just do what that early 20s, mid 20s person is doing, but let's add another thousand to that. So
Okay.
let's say we're
Saving a little bit more.
saving a little bit more, 3,000 a year at the same rate of return of 10%, because we still have a long time horizon. 30 years
Yeah.
is a long time. We gotta be as aggressive as possible. What are we getting?
Oh my gosh. Definitely. I mean, it's over 400,000
So we've got around a 400,000
gap.
difference
Yeah.
just by waiting another 10 years and trying to play catch up.
Wow. I
That
mean,
speaks volumes.
it does.
So, bottom line, even if you don't have a lot, even if it's small, start early, stay consistent, and your future self will greatly thank you.
Absolutely. I know a mindset like with that start early, save as much as you can. When I first started, like, obviously in this career, but like saving for retirement. I mean, let's be honest. I was a 23-year-old kid. Like, I knew I needed to save for retirement. I was telling people they needed to save for retirement. Um, but it was like, I also had never made any money in my life. Like, so what I was making seemed like a lot. So I personally, I did commit to, like, okay, save 10%, which is an amazing rule of thumb. And so I was like, okay, I'll save 10%. But you know what? It really served me because I wouldn't have known the difference if it had that extra 10% hitting my bank account because I knew no different. I was broke. So
Right.
regardless, as it made something. So I think that's a huge takeaway for those early 20s. Like, I just got out of high school, college, and I'm wanting to start save for that is like a big takeaway is like
Right.
just start as soon as you can. But of course, for someone that maybe didn't know and they couldn't
Mhm.
save, regardless of what age you're at, like, start saving something because something is better than nothing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, if your parents don't teach you to do that, a lot of the times, whoever is that parental figure in your life is trying to give you advice or, the self help. If they don't know it, how do they know to give you that information?
Right.
So here we are today telling you if you haven't started saving for retirement, you better start.
Absolutely. And that's where also, like, I gave a general rule of thumb on, like, hey, 10% is typically a good number. It is historically a good number if you start at 20, somewhat fresh out of college. But of course, that's totally dependent on your lifestyle and when you start saving it, which is why you also work with a certified financial planner to help you figure out, well, what lifestyle do you want to live and what number should I save. But I think another big takeaway we have is take advantage of any employer match that you get. If your company is willing to match any of your retirement dollars, it's free money. It is
Right.
basically a part of your compensation package that instead of them giving you this extra two, three, four, $5,000 in a match, it's basically I'll give it to you in a match versus giving it to you in your salary. You have to take advantage of that.
Right. Right. I mean, who wants to leave free money on the table? I've never met anybody that does.
Uh, Please, I will take your match dollars if you're not taking advantage of them. Put them in my account.
There you go. Big questions that we get whenever we are starting retirement planning are the tax advantage accounts that
Mhm.
come with that. Like, how do you know which one to contribute to? And now, employer plans, most of them are offering a Roth bucket,
Mm.
not just the traditional K bucket. We are offering Roth. And There is a magic potion to using both, to using one or the other, depending on where your income is now and where your income potential goes, and understanding, where to put it. I will say we cannot give blanket recommendations, so you will not hear us giving a straightforward recommendation on this podcast ever. That is the importance of meeting with your CFP or financial advisor because it's completely tailored to you and your circumstances. But there is a magic. On Roth is going to be pay the taxes now, have tax deferred growth year over year, and that money is tax free in the future during retirement or during financial independence. Traditional is the opposite. We are not paying the tax today. It is growing tax deferred. Tax deferred means year over year, we're in 2025 this year. Next year in 2026, you are not paying a tax on that growth in the account. It is just being deferred until you do need to use it. So with the traditional, we're in retirement or financial independence and we need to start pulling those funds out. That is when you're going to pay the tax on it. So, having a mixture, which one should be bigger, that all depends on your goals, your current income, your future income, and really just building out that retirement plan for you.
Absolutely. I mean, the difference is, do you pay your taxes now when you're contributing the dollars, or do I put it in? And there's pros to both of them. Hey, saving on the traditional or pre-tax, I am not paying my taxes on it now dollars. That's a tax write-off.
Mm.
That's huge. And I think a lot of people hear a big hype on Roth dollars, and I like to call that after tax dollars, and legally, like technically a little bit of a difference, but hey, I've already paid my taxes on these dollars. So when I pull this out in 40 years, shoot, with those numbers that we ran earlier, we know that they didn't actually contribute $800,000. It was way less than that. Mm, But I don't pay any tax on that $800,000 that we calculated. I only paid it on the seed, not the growth. So I think that's really big. And of course, why you work with your financial advisor or your CFP. The next one would be, make sure your dollars are actually invested. And a lot of people go, well, how should I invest it? And of course, that is why you work with an advisor. But I've had clients where they forgot about an old retirement plan, or, hey, yeah, I know actually I was contributing, but they never logged in.
Right.
And then when we did log in, it's like this money was sitting in the cash account or when uninvested
For
and
years.
years. And it's like, oh, well, for example, last year, the market, of course, if you're invested in the market, did upwards of 20%. But this account might have done one, let's be generous,
Yeah.
where, oh, I'm so sorry because you didn't pay attention. You left a good chunk of money on the table.
You lost money because of inflation. If you can't keep up with inflation, you're losing money.
Absolutely. So I think that's just making sure your money's invested. Of course, if you work with your a CFP, like they can help you tailor that to your risk tolerance and your goals. But please just at least make it sure it's invested. And I think the next one is married or single. I mean, I'm married. I love my husband, but like my retirement plan isn't his retirement plan. His retirement plan isn't my plan. Both of our plans matter. We both make incomes right now. I don't want one income in retirement. I want two incomes in retirement. So it is important to not let someone else's plan be yours. And you could think of that as all my parents' plan. My parents are well off. I'll
Mhm.
be fine. No, 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 no. Like you have to have your own plan as well.
Right, right. And, you know, at the same time, when you are married, working together towards the goal
Mm-hmm.
versus completely independently, you're going to get to the goal a lot faster.
Oh, Heather, that is a whole nother conversation. We could have a whole nother podcast episode about is just how do you do finances together with your significant other. But of course, a whole nother topic of conversation. But I agree. At the end of the day, your spouse, your partner, you are a team. But so are you with your CFP or your financial
Mhm.
advisor. We're all on the same side of the table, hopefully trying to get to the same goals. And
Right.
if we're not, we might have to reevaluate some things. So,
Absolutely. Things that people don't actually think about that they need to incorporate in their financial planning are possible long term care events for yourself
mm-hmm.
because The statistics are high that you will be in a long-term care event, and that can actually blow up your whole retirement plan if you don't properly account for it.
And tell me what a long-term care event is as an example. I know, but I think a lot of listeners might go, well, I don't know what that means.
Right. So there are different aspects of a long-term care event. I will say there are 6 daily living activities that, if you're going to go by the book, not necessarily will it be a long-term care event. You can be in a long-term care event and not meet these, but toileting, bathing yourself, feeding yourself, um,
I mean, moral of the story is you can't do something that you normally could have or you grew up doing. Like, I'm not a child. I can feed myself versus when I was a baby, I
right.
had to be spoon fed versus, I mean, I can say I had three. I was actually 3 for 3 on my living biological grandparents that
Mhm.
needed help in some capacity towards the end of their life. Um,
I mean, even just dementia. Like if you're
yeah,
not soundly there, you're going to be in a long-term care event.
that was one of my 3. So
Yeah. Physical, mental. You can even, I mean, you don't maybe see it as a long-term care event, but more as a disability. You get sick. I mean, cancer and diseases are common, and you start retirement, and gosh, God bless, but people get sick even when they're ready to start the next chapter of their life. And it can completely derail things. If you don't just plan for the what if of extra dollars for a certain period of time in your life, whether it's long term care, you get sick, and you need additional funds for someone to come in the home to help you, whatever that looks like, those are things that you have to take into consideration. And then on top of that, estate planning. Some people don't believe in leaving a legacy for their family, and that's totally okay. Some people love charitable contributions. Everyone's picture looks different. But that is a big piece of retirement planning too, is what does this look like passing on for the generations to come or for those things that are close to your heart?
absolutely. I mean, and that those topics in itself could be also a whole nother podcast that we might get to at another time. But I think just wrapping everything up, like big takeaways is I think the first thing that people need to think about, of course, like of course, start as soon as you can, but like, what is that freedom number? If that's financial independence, or at what age do I wanna retire? Because there's gonna be people that go, I don't care, I just wanna work until this point," but, like, but what is that number I need at that point? I mean, shoot, just automate your investing, like, with the start as soon as you can, save as much. Just start doing little by little, and just make sure, like, we're taking those audits as time goes on of our personal finances, and work with a CFP to create a plan.
Absolutely. Use those professionals.
Yes, absolutely. Well, shoot, that was a lot of
It was.
really good information, I think, and I think invites, of course, conversations that can be had with the professionals in your corner, your CFPs. And I think really like if you want to know more information, of course, visit our website. But until then,
No one ever says that they have too much money in retirement. So
I don't. If not, you
get
can make me your
started.
beneficiary.
Yes. Get started. You're in my will for sure.
Perfect.
I mean, the JPA, we're together. We're married.
We are married.
Give yourself grace, do your best. Start small, stay consistent
Yeah.
because every gem
Starts uncut.